Today we will examine a critical moment in European history, the Defenestration of Prague in 1618. This event, while seemingly isolated, served as the catalyst for the 30 Years' War, a conflict that reshaped the political and religious landscape of Europe. On May 23, 1618, in Prague Castle, a confrontation occurred that would have far-reaching consequences. A group of Protestant nobles, led by Count Jindřich Matyáš Thurn, confronted two Catholic regents, Vilém Slavata and Jaroslav Bořita, along with their secretary Philip Fabricius. The nobles accused these officials of violating the Letter of Majesty, a 1609 decree by Emperor Rudolf II that had granted religious freedoms to Bohemian Protestants. The confrontation escalated rapidly. In an act of rebellion, the Protestant nobles seized the two regents and their secretary and threw them out of a window of Prague Castle. This act, known as Defenestration, was not without precedent in Bohemian history, with similar incidents occurring in 1419 and 1483. Remarkably, all three men survived the fall. Catholic accounts attributed their survival to divine intervention, while Protestant sources suggested a more mundane explanation, that they had fallen into a dung heap. Regardless of the reason for their survival, the political impact of this act was immediate and severe. The Defenestration of Prague effectively served as a declaration of rebellion by the Bohemian Protestants against Habsburg rule. It marked the beginning of the Bohemian Revolt, which quickly expanded into the broader conflict we now know as the 30 Years' War. To understand the significance of this event, we must consider the context of early 17th century Europe. The Peace of Augsburg in 1555 had established the principle of cuius regio, eius religio, whose realm, his religion, which allowed German princes to determine the religion of their territories. However, this compromise did not resolve the underlying tensions between Catholic and Protestant factions. The Holy Roman Empire, a complex entity comprising numerous semi-autonomous states, was particularly vulnerable to these religious and political tensions. The Habsburg dynasty, which held the imperial throne, was staunchly Catholic, while many of its subjects, particularly in Bohemia, had embraced Protestantism. The 30 Years' War, triggered by the Defenestration of Prague, would engulf much of Europe from 1618 to 1648. What began as a conflict between Protestant and Catholic states within the Holy Roman Empire evolved into a more general struggle for political dominance in Europe, particularly between the Habsburgs and their rivals. The war unfolded in several phases, drawing in various European powers. Sweden, Denmark, France and Spain all became involved, each pursuing their own political agendas under the guise of religious allegiance. The conflict saw the rise of significant military leaders such as Albrecht von Wallenstein and Gustavus Adolphus of Sweden, and witnessed important battles like White Mountain, Breitenfeld and Lützen. The human cost of the war was staggering. Some regions of Germany lost up to half their population due to combat, disease and famine. The war's impact extended beyond demographics, disrupting trade, agriculture and the social fabric of Central Europe. The conflict finally concluded with the Peace of Westphalia in 1648. This series of treaties did more than simply end the fighting. It established principles that would shape international relations for centuries to come. The Peace of Westphalia reinforced the concept of state sovereignty, weakened the authority of the Holy Roman Emperor, and created a framework for religious coexistence. The long-term effects of the 30 Years' War and the Peace of Westphalia were profound. It marked the decline of Habsburg power and the rise of France as the dominant continental power. It solidified the fragmentation of the Holy Roman Empire into largely autonomous states. It established the principle of non-interference in the internal affairs of sovereign states. It fostered the development of permanent diplomatic missions and the concept of a balance of power in Europe. The Defenestration of Prague serves as a powerful example of how a single event can precipitate far-reaching historical changes. What began as a local act of rebellion in Prague Castle led to a conflict that reshaped the political, religious, and diplomatic landscape of Europe. It underscores the complex interplay of religious, political, and social factors that drive historical change. As we reflect on this event, we are reminded of the often unforeseen consequences of political actions and the enduring impact of historical moments on the shaping of our world. The echoes of the Defenestration of Prague and the subsequent 30 Years' War continue to resonate in our modern understanding of international relations and the delicate balance between state sovereignty and religious freedom.